What's up guys, ProdiJay here and welcome to episode 5 at Setup Tour Showdown, where I review the setups you guys sent me and give my feedback. And if you want to submit your setup for the series, you can find the guidelines video down below. Now for today's setups, they're from Jay, Hampus, Dylan, Sebastian, and Jonathan. Thank you for submissions guys, as I very much appreciate it, but without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now starting off, we got Jay from London. He's 13 years old and uses this setup for schoolwork, gaming, watching YouTube videos, and more. But getting to the setup equipment, he's rocking a single 1080p HP monitor with a Logitech webcam on top, which the single monitor setup does look good, and if he decides to get a second monitor in the future, I'm sure there'll be enough room on his IKEA Alex table, which was a good choice for the room. Moving on to peripherals, Jay is using the Logitech G213 gaming keyboard, and for his mouse in the picture, he is using the SteelSeries Sensei 310, but actually upgraded to the glorious Model D mouse. For audio, he uses the Turtle Beach XL4 Stealth headset and has a fine microphone set. And now moving on to his PC specs, he's rocking a GTX 1660, a Ryzen 5 3600, 8GB of RAM, 1TB of storage, and a 256GB SSD. So overall, the PC specs are pretty alright, but I would recommend possibly upgrading the RAM so there's at least 16GB. And finally, for the cable management, I like how it's all well together in the back and hidden, but I would recommend possibly getting a mouse bungee or getting some cable clips for the mouse and keyboard, as the cords are long. And if you're able to, I would possibly consider maybe drilling holes in the desk for the keyboard and mouse, but honestly, that's strictly personal preference. But after going over all that, I like this setup as it's simple but not bland, as there's different pop vinyls on the desk, adding a bit of style and personality, which is what every setup needs to have. Up next, we got Hampus from Sweden. He's 13 and uses this setup with schoolwork and gaming mostly on Minecraft and Forza Horizon. But getting to the equipment, he's using a height adjustable IKEA desk with a single curved monitor. For peripherals, he's using a Corsair K55 keyboard, a Corsair Harpoon Pro mouse, and has them both on his extra large RGB mousepad. For audio, he's using stereo speakers from Logitech and uses a QPad gaming headset. And now for the PC specs, he's rocking an RX 580, a Ryzen 5 2600, 16GB of Corsair Vengeance RAM clocked at 3200MHz, and a 240GB SSD. Now this is a good budget PC, but I would recommend getting a 1TB hard drive or just increasing your storage capacity a bit more, as 240GB is quite low in terms of storage. But overall, if I had to say anything about its cable management, I would possibly recommend getting a cord sleeve for the cords behind the PC, as it would make it look a lot cleaner. But after going over all that, I really like how the setup looks, especially with the red color scheme, and I like how clean it is with the console and controllers on the left side, which one thing that I really like is how Hampus used Legos to make a makeshift disc holder, which in itself is pretty creative, so I definitely give him props for that. Moving on, we got Dylan, who's 14 years old and uses this setup for gaming, art, YouTube, and coding. But getting to the setup equipment, he's using two 720p monitors, uses a Corsair K55 keyboard and Corsair Glaive mouse on a Corsair Polaris mousepad, and uses the Logitech Z150 speakers. And moving on to the PC specs, he has a Radeon R5 230, a FX 4300, 8GB of DDR3 RAM, and a 1TB hard drive. Now looking at all the setup equipment, although most of it is pretty much on the budget end, I'm glad that he was able to make the setup still look good, but I would recommend saving up money to upgrade different parts of the setup, especially the 720p monitors, because nowadays 1080p is pretty much the norm for most people. And for the PC, I would mostly recommend saving up for a decent budget PC for about $500, because the current specs of the PC and the setup are quite low. But for the cable management, I do like how most of it is out of sight and out of mind. And although the setup kind of lacks in hardware, I really like how the setup looks in terms of aesthetics, especially with the RGB lighting. But overall, I would say the setup just needs some upgrades in terms of hardware. Now near the end, we got Sebastian from California. He's 15 years old, likes to play Fortnite, Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, and GTA 5, and he says he's trying to be a streamer. But getting into the equipment, he's rocking a dual monitor setup with one 1080p 144Hz monitor with a secondary display being a 720p 60Hz monitor. Moving on to peripherals, he's using the HyperX Alloy keyboard, HyperX Pulsefire Core mouse, and a HyperX Fury mousepad. So I'm gonna assume that he's a fan of the company. But moving on to audio, he's using the SteelSeries Arctis 7 wireless headset, and he is using some RGB speakers from Mabu. And now for the PC specs, he's using a GTX 1650, an i5 9600K, 16GB of G-Skill RAM, has a 500GB internal SSD, and finally a 1TB hard drive. So as a PC specs, it's pretty good overall, as he did mention that he usually gets over 144 FPS while playing Fortnite. Now for cable management, it's kind of subpar in my opinion, because you can see that the cords aren't organized since you can just see them hanging underneath the desk, which of course if you turn the lights off, you're not going to see the cords, but still, I would recommend working on the cable management possibly by getting some Velcro ties, cable sleeves, or maybe even getting an IKEA Signum to hang your cords underneath the desk neatly. Other than that, the cable management isn't that good, but in terms of the setup look, I do like how he went with a black and red color theme and even got some accessories to add on to it. But one thing that I do find weird are the pop vinyl boxes underneath the desk. Now, I'm not sure if he's trying to keep them in their boxes to keep for novelty reasons or whatever, but I would recommend moving them to somewhere else in a room or even stacking them in a pattern on the desk, because right now it does look kind of weird. But overall, the setup looks nice, but just needs some arrangement and cable management work. And then last but not least, we got Jonathan from Maryland. He's 17 years old, uses his setup for gaming and schoolwork, and he mentioned that he worked all last summer to get what he has now, which looking at the setup overall, I think he did a good job. But getting to the equipment, he's rocking a single 4K LG monitor and a MacBook Pro on the side. Moving on to peripherals, Jonathan is using a Raya mechanical keyboard and has a Logitech G203 mouse and uses the Astro A40 headset for audio. And now moving on to his PC specs, he's rocking a GTX 1660 Super, a Ryzen 5 3600, 8GB of RAM, 1TB of storage, and a 256GB SSD. So the PC specs are decent, but I would recommend upgrading the RAM so there's at least 16GB. And for the cable management, it's honestly one of the cleanest I've ever seen, as everything is pretty tucked away and hidden. But after going over all that, I really want to say that the setup looks pretty dope with the blue and pink lighting, and you got a nice desktop wallpaper off Wallpaper Engine to match the theme. Now, I do find this setup pretty nice and clean, but if I had to give any recommendations, I would possibly say maybe add a poster to the wall or maybe get a pop vinyl or two, just because I feel like there's something missing in a way, but that's just my personal opinion. But overall, I really love the look of the setup. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for episode 5 at Setup Tour Showdown, and I want to say thanks again to everyone featured in this episode, because this video wouldn't be up without you guys. And if you want to submit your setups to be featured in this series, be sure to watch my submission guide video in the description to learn how you can enter. And make sure you follow all of the rules, otherwise your setup won't be eligible for the series. So if you do enter, make sure you follow all of the rules. But I think that's gonna wrap it up, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, drop a like and subscribe for more quality content like this, because I do love making videos like this one. Also, comment down below what you liked or disliked about the setups, and tell me which one was your favorite, as I know everyone's gonna have their own opinions on the matter. So make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Also, do me a favor and come join my Discord, because I definitely want to try and grow a community where people can just hang out, talk about setups and other budget builds and more, which right now we're sitting at over 1,000 members. So if you're interested in joining, there'll be a link in the description. But anyways guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to have notifications on so you won't miss any of my videos. My name's ProdiJay, and as always, stay classy.